Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining from either place, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. Hopefully I'll be able to go through them as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. But let's get started here with a look at our headlines and what we're tracking out the next couple of days, and hopefully you're able to get out there today. It was absolutely gorgeous. What a wonderful way to kick off spring. We had plenty of sunshine. Temperatures were well above average, topping out in the 70s and 80s across the tri-state. Now, as we go through the rest of the night tonight, we'll stay quiet out there. We will have some passing cloud cover overnight and into very early tomorrow morning, but we should stay quiet with mild temperatures. And headed into our Saturday, it gets warm once again, and even more so by the time we get into Sunday. Potentially record-breaking heat out there, with maybe even a cold front that will bring in the chance for a few storms. A slight chance that some of them may become severe. I'll break down a couple of different models and what the caveats may be headed into Sunday night, but overall, severe weather threat is relatively low. Nothing like what we saw last weekend. Now, once that cold front moves through, it is going to cool us back down for the start of the work week. We'll see temperatures dropping to around average, so not as drastic of a drop as what we saw last Sunday into Monday, but similar in the sense that it's going to be warm, followed up by another cool down. But here's a look at our setup across the U.S. We have this area of low pressure kind of sliding in across the Great Lakes that pushed in a couple of areas of rain and even a few storms across portions of the Northeast. They even had a few snow showers across portions of Maine. Now, the rest of the country fairly dry outside of the Pacific Northwest. We've got a couple of showers up there in the Portland area and up towards Seattle, but this big area of high pressure sitting over the desert Southwest, providing pretty much a heat dome for the folks out here across Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, even Southern California. Very, very hot. Excessive heat warnings all over the place, with temperatures topping out in the 90s. Even a few hundreds have been recorded in the southwestern United States. So a very, very early warm up for this time of year, not just for us here in the tri-state, but for a good chunk of the country. Now, taking a look at what our highs got to today, we topped out at around 81 here in the Evansville area, and comparing that to normal, that is around 23 degrees above average. And of course, I mentioned it was even warmer to our west, where that high pressure system is a little bit more of a dominating force. They were running anywhere between 25 to even up to 33 degrees warmer out towards areas like Kansas City and up into Omaha. So that kind of heat will continue to kind of propagate our way. It won't be in the 90s or the hundreds, but it will be significantly warm here through the weekend. And taking a look at our current temperatures, we've dropped down by several degrees, almost 10 here in the Evansville area, sitting at around 72 degrees along the river. South there in Henderson, sitting at around 69. Same thing there in Madisonville, and around 71 to our northeast in Huntingburg. So fairly mild for our Friday evening. Still gorgeous night to go out, take a late night stroll, whatever you do. You make sure you definitely enjoy it. And with that passing cloud cover, that will help insulate those temperatures a little bit. So we'll drop down into the low to mid 50s across the tri-state overnight tonight. And I mentioned that some of that cloud cover moving in through the overnight hours may linger into early tomorrow morning before those skies open back up through the afternoon, and we'll see a return to the upper 70s to around 80 degrees for our high. So gorgeous day for our Saturday, no issues there. And then looking ahead to Sunday, that's going to be the warmest day here of the next 7 days. We'll have temperatures rising into the mid 80s. We're going with a forecast of around 85 degrees here in the Evansville area, and comparing that to what the previous record was for the day on Sunday, that was around 80 back in 1988. So if our forecast verifies, that will easily smash that previous record there. So lots of warmer weather on the way, but a cold front will come in and crash the party. Yesterday we were talking about how that cold front didn't look like it had a lot of moisture with it. It wasn't really kicking up a whole lot of storm activity. Well, today it does look like some of the models are hinting at maybe a little bit more in the way of some showers and storms. Not widespread by any means, still fairly isolated, but the Storm Prediction Center did pop us in that level 1 and 2 risk for isolated severe storms. So let me break down the details for you here. It still looks like the greatest potential for severe weather exists farther off to our northeast through southeastern Indiana out towards much of Ohio and even into southwestern Pennsylvania. But here in the tri-state, we do still have that level 1 and 2 risk. That level 2 risk kind of mainly confined to areas north of the Ohio River, but you don't want to get too hung up on exactly where the risk setup is. It's, we've got the ingredients, the potential is there. However, it is a fairly low potential. So again, not like what we saw last Sunday night into last Monday, but similar in the sense that it is a cold front with the potential for some storms. So let me take you through a few models, because some of the models are at quite odds with one another. So this model here, I was showing this on 14 News 4, 5, and 6. One of the caveats that we have going into Sunday night and what would maybe squander our potential for any storm development is the presence of a fairly strong cap Sunday night. And this cold front pictured here moving through on the graph model, you could see it hardly kicks up a sprinkle. It really just wants to keep it with partly cloudy skies, with a lot of that action staying farther off to the north and east. However, some other models show a little bit differently. This is the NAM model now. Still shows that cold front moving in here for Sunday evening, but you can see it does kick up that chance for a few showers and storms, albeit not a impressive line of storms by any means. But if we do see some storms development, it does have that potential to become severe in some spots. So again, still a very low and isolated risk, but we do have that alert in effect just in case we do see a couple of warnings. Now, I've been mentioning a cap, and many of you know what that means. You're all here watching the weather show. We've explained this several times in the past, but as we get into the spring season, it's always good to kind of freshen up on some of the terminology we use, especially going into potential severe weather events. And what a cap is, it's essentially just a layer of warm air higher up above the ground. So it's aloft, and that means when temperatures are heating up, or as the heating of the day occurs on the ground here, that air starts to lift and it starts to encounter colder air, and that's what allows it to continue to lift. As we know, warmer air is less dense than colder air. However, if it encounters another layer of warm air, then it doesn't really have that potential to rise anymore, to become showers or storms. It acts as a lid, and it puts a suppression on it to stop it from developing vertically. So that's how a cap works in this instance. But if we do see a weakening in the cap, or maybe the cap erodes away completely, that updraft from the surface will easily be able to kind of bust through and become some storms with that potential for maybe even some severe characteristics. So that's the difference between a capped atmosphere versus an uncapped atmosphere. And again, if we do see maybe that cap lift or weaken in a few spots, there is that potential for some severe weather, mainly a damaging wind and a large hail risk. Can't completely rule out a tornado, but with the low-level shear not being as impressive as you would need for tornadoes and the instability, along with that capping mechanism, it doesn't seem too likely. But of course, models can continue to hint at several other ingredients that may come together. So this forecast may change here at least through tomorrow. So you definitely want to continue to stay tuned to the forecast. Again, not really expecting this to blow up into anything crazy here, but it is at least a severe weather potential at that. So that's why we have that first alert in place. Now, I do think even if we don't see the storms, the cold front is going to still have an impressive impact on our temperatures. We'll be topping out in the mid 80s there on Sunday, and then behind that front dropping down into the lower 40s, waking up Monday morning, and then warming only to the 50s there by Monday and Tuesday. So right around average for this time of year before we start to climb back up through the 60s and 70s by Wednesday and Thursday. And then another cold front comes in with the chance for some showers, mainly Thursday night, that may linger there into early Friday morning. So there's a look at our precipitation chances. Again, fairly quiet. I think much of the day on Sunday is going to be very dry, so that's why we only have that 20% chance. But of course, with that cold front moving in later on in the evening, those chances do increase a little bit more. But our next best chance for at least some widespread showers doesn't look to arrive until the middle and end of next week. So here's a look at some models towards the end of next week. This is Wednesday, waking up in the morning. You can see a few spotty showers in and around the area, but as we get into Thursday, specifically Thursday evening, we'll have another frontal boundary slide in from the north overnight into early Friday morning. That may kick up another round of some showers there. So that's the look at the 7-day forecast for you. Let me go ahead and take it a full screen so you can get a better look at it. I still want you guys to take advantage of this weather here this weekend. It is going to be phenomenal, especially tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be comfortable out there, not too humid either, with temperatures climbing into the upper 70s to around 80. We'll have mostly sunny skies at least through the afternoon and headed into the evening. The morning will have a little bit of cloud cover, but that should kind of fade away as we go through the day. And then Sunday, much of the day on Sunday, still mostly sunny until we get into Sunday evening. With that cold front moving in, we'll see an increase in that cloud cover and of course that potential for an isolated severe storm. And then we cool down for the start of the work week, and it looks like we'll have some cloud cover to contend with, at least there Tuesday into Wednesday, along with that slight chance for a few showers Wednesday, Thursday, and headed into Friday. So that is a look at the 7-day. And while I have that pulled up, let me go ahead and check out some of the comments here. Suzanne says, good evening. She says, it sure was a beautiful day. It absolutely was. Wonderful way to kind of start the new season here. Laura, she says she's watching from Dawson Springs. Thank you for tuning in. Linny says, we've got a nice weekend. We surely do. Zach says, good evening. Same thing from Cheyenne. Good evening to you both. Drew asking about Jeff. He is actually going to be on vacation through next week, so he will not be back on Monday. He's enjoying some time off there, but you still have the rest of us, so don't get too sad. Angie says it was a beautiful day today. She got the camper out of storage and took it to the lake. You know, that's what we're kind of encouraging you to do. You know, we don't get many of these nice, warm, dry days often in the springtime. So if we get some dry time and some sunshine and warmer temperatures, I want you guys to be outside enjoying it the best that you can. So that's the kind of attitude you want to have headed into this weekend. And then, of course, pay attention to the forecast here as we head into Sunday night with that potential for at least an isolated severe storm. But that is all I've got for the 9 o'clock weather stream show. I'm going to send you on over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, stay safe and have a wonderful weekend.